The doorbell rings. 2 men at the door.
She goes to close the door on them. They force themselves in with guns.
They take her by force.
They hooded me as soon as I went into the van.
A deputy chases them down.
I opened the rear door of the van. It scared me, so I jumped back and I shut the door.
Follow and listen to the 48 Hours podcast on Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, or wherever you get your podcasts.
48 Hours and CBS News present Season 3 of My Life of Crime with Erin Moriarty. This season, join Erin for extended interviews with convicted murderers. Go beyond speculation to the evidence. Did Arturo Gatti really commit suicide? And what happened to Jennifer Dulos, the Connecticut mom still missing almost 4 years later? Listen to My Life of Crime from 48 Hours, wherever you get your podcasts.
Tonight, we're following a number of developing stories. The breaking news out of Newark, where 2 officers were shot, and the big political news with Election Day now just 1 week away. In San Francisco tonight, the man accused of trying to murder Nancy Pelosi's husband faces a judge. CBS's Jonathan Vigliotti reports on how soon the family of the speaker could see the body cam footage. America decides. The president on the offense as his party risks losing control of Congress.
They're coming after Social Security and Medicare in a big way.
Plus, our exclusive interview with California Governor Gavin Newsom, his surprising prediction about a red wave.
And it goes to my fundamental grievance with my damn party. We're getting crushed on narrative.
Vaccine for RSV as the dangerous virus spreads across the nation. CBS's Janet Shamlian has the promising news for parents of young children. And the new requirement forcing New York City employers to post salaries for job openings and why it may give future employees leverage in negotiation.
This is the CBS Evening News with Norah O'Donnell, reporting from the nation's capital.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us on this Tuesday night as we are just 1 week out from the all-important midterm elections that will determine who holds power here in Washington. We've got the latest on that in just a minute. But first, we've learned new details about the break-in at the home of Speaker Nancy Pelosi, where her husband Paul was violently assaulted with a hammer. Members of Pelosi's family are expected to soon hear audio from the 911 call from Paul Pelosi and see body camera footage from that very night. Well, today, the suspect, David DePape, made his first court appearance and pleaded not guilty to a litany of charges, including attempted murder, assault with a deadly weapon, and elder abuse. The 42-year-old was allegedly targeting the House Speaker and wanted to hold her hostage and break her kneecaps. Also tonight, Capitol Police are warning they need more resources to provide additional layers of security for members of Congress. There's a lot of news to cover, and CBS's Jonathan Vigliotti will start us off tonight from outside Pelosi's San Francisco residence. Good evening, Jonathan.
And good evening, Nora. Tonight, there is an increased security presence here outside the home as we have watched family gather around inside. Meanwhile, the suspect faced a judge today showing signs of the alleged attack.
In a packed San Francisco courtroom, David DePape, wearing an orange jumpsuit with a black sling on his right arm, was described as emotionless as the judge denied bail. District Attorney Brooke Jenkins.
Clearly, we believe he is a severe public safety threat, given what took place. He was targeting that home specifically in order to make contact with the speaker.
The criminal complaint describes how DePape, who had a history of pushing far-right conspiracies online, told investigators he was going to hold Nancy hostage and had planned to break her kneecaps if she lied to him. As police arrived early Friday morning, DePape swung the hammer toward Paul Pelosi, saying he was taking the punishment instead. The speaker visited her husband this morning, who is said to be recovering well. And tonight, the U.S. Capitol Police Chief calling for additional layers of physical security for members of Congress as they continue to monitor thousands of potential threats. Many of those spawned by conspiracy theories and misinformation, including just this morning, former President Trump questioned whether there was even a break-in at the Pelosi home.
Wow, it's weird things going on in that household in the last couple of weeks.
Last night, Arizona's Republican gubernatorial candidate Carrie Lake made light of the attack.
Nancy Pelosi, well, she's got protection when she's in D.C. Apparently her house doesn't have a lot of protection.
To San Francisco's DA, it's no laughing matter.
I think it's appalling that anybody would take lightly what happened to Mr. Pelosi and the fact that he was targeted by virtue of his wife's position in this country.
And sources tell CBS News the Pelosi family will review 911 calls and video from that night as early as tomorrow. Meanwhile, the suspect could face up to 50 years if found guilty, Norah.
That's going to be difficult footage to watch. Jonathan Vigliotti, thank you. Well, we do want to turn now to breaking news from Newark, New Jersey. 2 officers were rushed to the hospital after they were shot sniper style from the roof of a building. We get the latest now from CBS's Michael George.
They reported an active shooter in that area.
2 police officers were ambushed in broad daylight while trying to serve a warrant in Newark, New Jersey today.
Stay away from that area. It's an active police-involved incident.
The shooter, armed with a rifle, fired on the officers from a nearby rooftop, striking one in the neck and the other in the leg. Both were transported to an area hospital and are expected to survive.
It was horrible. I mean, at first I thought it was firecrackers, but then because it was so many, then I realized what it was.
A SWAT team and dozens of officers have now surrounded the suspect and put the area on lockdown. There have been at least 252 officers shot so far this year, 50 of whom were killed. Nearly half of those deaths were in ambush-style attacks.
And still a very active scene here. You can hear helicopters overhead. And the FBI is also on the scene here assisting Newark police. And law enforcement sources tell CBS they've established communication with the suspect and are trying to end this standoff peacefully. Norah?
Michael George with that breaking news. Thank you. Well, tonight, one of the fastest spreading illnesses among children in the United States isn't COVID or the flu, but a respiratory virus known as RSV. Well, now help could finally be on the way. CBS's Janet Shamlian reports on a new vaccine that could be approved next year.
3-month-old Cooper Wachter is in the intensive care unit of a Minnesota hospital with RSV.
We could see it like in his stomach, that he was just kind of almost like convulsing when he tried to breathe. And so that's when we knew that it was really bad.
A new vaccine announced today could help prevent cases like Cooper's. When given to pregnant women in trials, it was almost 82% effective in preventing severe RSV in newborns to 3 months old, and almost 70% effective in children through 6 months of age. At Texas Children's Hospital, doctors are optimistic.
What role do you think this vaccine could play in the future?
As a pediatrician, we haven't had any treatment for RSV my whole career and way before then. And so we would be hopeful that if there are options for treatment, that's huge for our kids.
RSV cases are rising in at least 36 states. Nationwide, more than 70% of pediatric beds are full. 2.5-year-old James Torres has a breathing tube at Texas Children's Hospital.
Seeing your child intubated is really tough.
Okay. Back in Minnesota, Cooper Wachter could be out of the hospital by week's end. His mom, Shannon, says seeing what he's been through, she'd have no hesitancy taking the vaccine had it been available when she was pregnant.
Would you have taken it? Now with a nationwide thing happening, I would say that I most definitely would have if I could.
Hi.
I mean, anything, to not let our little boy suffer as much as he has.
Here at Texas Children's Hospital, the nation's largest pediatric medical center, they currently have about 50 children with RSV. The CDC says the virus is spread by respiratory droplets and by touching contaminated surfaces. Norah?
Tough to see those little babies suffering. Janet Shamlian, thank you so much. Well, there was an outpouring of anger today at the sentencing hearing for the man who shot and killed 17 people at Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School in 2018. Survivors of the shooting in Parkland, Florida, and family members of the victims directly addressed the gunman for the first time.
Parkland murder, I hope your maker sends you directly to hell to burn for the rest of your eternity.
My hope for you is that you die sooner rather than later. I have no forgiveness in my heart for you. You are a monster with no remorse, and every breath you take is a breath wasted.
Well, the gunman will be sentenced Wednesday to life in prison without parole. A jury could not agree on the death sentence. Turning now to the crucial midterm elections with just 1 week to go before Election Day, President Biden is on the campaign trail in Florida, making the case for Democrats and against what he calls mega MAGA Republicans. We have a team of correspondents covering the key races across the country, and CBS's Nancy Cordes starts us off from the White House as America decides.
They're coming after Social Security and Medicare in a big way.
President Biden's campaign message in this final week amounts to a warning. What he thinks will happen if his party loses control of Congress.
The power we just gave Medicare to negotiate prescription drug prices goes away, gone. $2,000 cap on prescription drugs, gone.
The battle for Senate control has grown so fierce, CBS News considers races in 5 states to be true toss-ups, where the candidates are neck and neck.
They're coming after me with everything right now.
In Georgia today, former football player Herschel Walker called his critics crazy after a second woman publicly accused the anti-abortion rights Republican of pressuring her to have an abortion.
He came to my house and picked me up and drove me to the clinic.
CBS's Nicole Killian is covering the Walker campaign in Georgia.
Here in Augusta, supporters of Herschel Walker say that they have scandal fatigue, while those who support his opponent, Senator Raphael Warnock, say enough is enough. But for independents who could be crucial in deciding this race, some are on the fence.
You have to, think that there is some truth to it.
A lot of people can say you did this and did that, but doesn't mean it's true.
In Arizona today, the Republican Senate candidate Blake Masters got a boost in his bid to unseat Democrat Mark Kelly. A third-party Libertarian candidate dropped out and endorsed Masters. In Pennsylvania today, Lieutenant Governor John Fetterman insisted he is healthy enough to serve after suffering a stroke.
No secret that I was going to miss some words. I was going to mush some words together. And as we've been very clear in the debate and during this interview, I've been using captioning.
Fetterman, a Democrat, still has a slight lead over Republican Mehmet Oz. CBS's Robert Costa is in Pennsylvania.
Suburban Philadelphia is a crucial battleground, and both campaigns are seeking out women voters. So when you see prices go up, how does that influence your politics?
What makes you think about who's going to do the best job?
Do you believe abortion rights will galvanize Democrats?
I think so, especially women.
And when it comes to suburban women, a new Wall Street Journal poll finds a huge 26-point swing in their preferences just in the past few months. Back in August, Norah, they favored Democrats by 11 points. Now they favor Republicans by 15.
That's significant. Nancy Cordes, thank you. One of the political heavyweights hitting the campaign trail is California's Democratic governor. Gavin Newsom can pull in the crowds and the donations, leading many to question whether his political ambitions extend beyond the Golden State. Newsom talked exclusively with CBS's Major Garrett.
California Governor Gavin Newsom's race for re-election is not close, so he's campaigning for embattled Democrats.
Does it feel like a red wave?
Yeah, of course it does. And again, I'm not paid to say that. I'm paid to say, fate and I mean, I get it. Look, I could be the cheerleader. I'm also a pragmatist. You feel it.
Newsom, with one of his party's biggest digital and fundraising operations, sounds like a Democrat with bigger ambitions.
And it goes to my fundamental grievance with my damn party. We're getting crushed on narrative. We're going to have to do better in terms of getting on the offense and stop being on the damn defense.
I urge all of you living in Florida to join the fight or join us in California.
Newsom recently bought advertising in states like Florida and Texas, further elevating his profile. He's practiced at deflecting the presidency question.
No.
How can you be so sure?
Because it's not my ambition. It's not the direction that I'm leaning into. It's not the moment.
So one way to answer that question is, I will never run for president of the United States. Can you say that?
Yeah, I have no interest.
Newsom told us he, unlike some ambivalent Democrats, wants President Biden to run again.
It's been a masterclass the last 2 years, not necessarily in effective communication and generating narrative, but in terms of the substance under the circumstance, with all the headwinds and obfuscation and opposition, I think it's been remarkable.
But those circumstances for the president would get tougher if Republicans take the House.
Kevin McCarthy, as Speaker of the House, fills you with what?
I don't want to say it out loud, but fear. What he's done to aid and abet this notion, the big lie, how he's aiding and abetting functionally authoritarian leaders across his party, it scares the hell out of me.
We asked Kevin McCarthy's office for a response to Newsom and did not hear back. Newsom will spend the next week campaigning in California for Democrats in unexpectedly close House races. It's his effort to bail out a party he says, Norah, is being, quote, destroyed on messaging.
What a revealing interview. Major Garrett, thank you. And we will have full coverage of the 2020 midterm elections next Tuesday. That's starting at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And we hope you'll join us here on CBS News. Now to the economy. A new Labor Department survey showed job openings surged in the month of September to more than 10.7 million. That means there are roughly 2 job openings for every available worker. And if you're looking for a job in New York City, things just got a bit more transparent. Starting today, most companies are now required to post salary ranges for every available job. CBS's Tanya Rivero reports on why it's a growing trend in tonight's Money Watch.
I think it's a great thing.
Job seeker Lauren Bagger already finds the newly disclosed salary ranges useful in her search for a management position.
The color, especially in the corporate workplace, you kind of undervalue yourself sometimes.
Sahir Kawaja, who helped draft the legislation, says it gives employees more leverage in the negotiating process.
For so long, and what we've seen is that pay secrecy creates this huge power imbalance between employers and employees.
7 states have similar pay transparency laws. There has been pushback from some businesses. The Partnership for New York City told CBS News the city's new law will make the compensation conversation more difficult, to the extent that most job candidates and current employees will believe they should be at the top of the salary range. Companies must list a good faith salary for a new employee or face a hefty fine. But the ranges can vary greatly. One job we found listed the high-end salary at almost double the low end. But career coach Cynthia Pong says salary is only one piece of the puzzle.
Workplace culture is extremely important to us, sometimes even more important than the salary, or at least equally. So doing your due diligence to ask around.
For Bagger, knowing the numbers helps her map out her career.
Like being young, I can just plan a little bit further out if I know what the pay of my next steps is going to look like, what the salary is going to look like.
Now, many salaries do not state bonuses or other perks that can be negotiated. Pong also reminds job seekers to carefully review the requirements of comparable positions. These can vary significantly, even if the job titles are the same. Norah?
Tanya Rivero, thank you. A rapper from the Grammy-nominated group Migos was shot dead in Houston today. Police are on the search for the killer. We'll have more when we return.
What happened to her, Mario? How could she simply disappear after she was with you?
I don't have answers for that.
48 Hours and CBS News present.
I'm just going to ask you straight out. Did you kill Christy Wilson?
No, I had nothing to do with her disappearance.
Another season of My Life of Crime with Erin Moriarty. Award-winning correspondent Erin Moriarty brings you face-to-face with killers.
I will never say that I'm a cold-blooded killer. I will never say I'm a murderer.
And the people they took from.
My son died running for his life.
This season, follow the evidence with Erin, beyond the speculation, including in the death of boxing legend Arturo Gatti.
My gut says I don't think he would take his life.
I know my husband killed himself.
Listen to My Life of Crime from 48 Hours, wherever you get your podcasts.
This is The Takeout with Major Garrett.
This week, to mark our 300th episode, he held the line at the U.S. Capitol on January 6th, Michael Fanone.
Yeah, I remember screaming out that I have kids. I thought maybe I could appeal to somebody's humanity.
That's what you screamed, I have kids.
Yeah, I have kids. And it worked. There were some individuals in the crowd that assisted me.
For more from this week's conversation, follow The Takeout with Major Garrett on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts.
There's shock and sadness in the music world tonight. A Grammy-nominated member of the rap group Migos was shot and killed today outside a bowling alley in Houston. Police say the rapper Takeoff was there for a private party along with his uncle, who is also in the group. Investigators are asking for the public's health as they search for his killer. Takeoff was the youngest member of the award-winning trio, which had a slew of hits, including the song Versace. He was 28 years old. There's also some breaking news coming in from Albuquerque, New Mexico. A Delta Airlines flight heading from Atlanta to Los Angeles had to make an emergency landing. Look at this. We're told smoke filled the cabin. There are no reports of any injuries. The cause of the problem now under investigation. The world's most powerful rocket blasted off today for the first time in years, and we'll tell you about the secret cargo on board. That's next. It was liftoff today for the world's most powerful rocket. SpaceX's Falcon Heavy blasted off from the Kennedy Space Center in Florida for the first time in 3 years. It sent 2 top secret military satellites into space. 2 rocket boosters touched down safely on offshore landing pads and can be reused. The 3rd booster sank as planned to the bottom of the ocean. No one hit the Powerball jackpot Monday night, and now the grand prize for the Wednesday night drawing has grown to $1.2 billion. That's the 2nd largest Powerball jackpot ever and the largest in more than 6 years. The cash option payout, well, it's more than $596 million, but that is before taxes. Just keeping you updated. We'll be right back with a Broadway honor for the legend of the screen and stage.
Now streaming.
I used to believe in progress, that no matter what we do, we just end up back at the start. We're in crazy time.
The Paramount Plus original series, The Good Fight, returns for its final season.
The point isn't the end. The point is winning.
Yes!
There are bad people in the world. The best way to protect the good people is to convict the bad.
So here's to us.
The Good Fight, the final season, now streaming exclusively on Paramount Plus.
I'm Mo Rocca, and it's been a while. But I've been busy digging up even more stories about the people and things of the past that are fascinating me now.
What did your father think of the label, of the whole idea of the Latin lover?
From the screen idols who redefined Hollywood's leading man.
I think it was a love-hate relationship. My dad hated the word macho.
That's what I call a Latin lover type of a role, which is one-dimensional.
To the dog who introduced millions of kids to classic literature.
I remember, on my 10th birthday, I think it was, we were going to go mini golfing, and I insisted, but we had to stay home for Wishbone first.
Listen to Mobituaries wherever you get your podcasts.
Finally tonight, actress, singer, and civil rights activist Lena Horne became the first Black woman to have a Broadway theater named after her when the Brooks Atkinson Theater was renamed in her honor. The star of film and stage was the first Black woman to be nominated for a Tony Award for leading actress in the 1957 musical Jamaica. The Brooklyn-born Horne, who died in 2010 at the age of 92, won a Tony Award and 2 Grammys during her illustrious career. And that is tonight's CBS Evening News. I'm Norah O'Donnell. Good night.
Hey, podcast fans, Stephen Colbert here to tell you all about The Late Show Pod Show with Stephen Colbert. The Late Show Pod Show is a podcast featuring everything you love about the #1 show in late night. It's got the jokes, the goofs, the monologue, the sizzling celebrity interviews, plus moments never before seen on TV, all wrapped up in a podcast that drops new episodes 7 days a week. Best of all, since it's a podcast, you can close your eyes and pretend you're right on stage with me. Oh, listen to that applause. They're clapping for you. Or imagine you're sitting next to my celebrity guest. Wow, looks like you two are really hitting it off. The tabloids are going to have a field day. Listen to The Late Show Pod Show with Stephen Colbert on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts.